They call me Devin Scissorhands. Actually, that's pretty dark intro for something that's actually quite lovely, and that is cutting gardens. We're going to talk about growing plants that produce flowers that are perfect for adding to your vases inside your home. All right, so the idea of a cutting garden is as old as growing plants. We all love flowers. We all love growing plants for flowers to bring inside the home to put in our cut flower vases, because we all know having flowers inside the home is something quite lovely. So come with me on a journey and we're going to explore some of my favorite plants for adding into your flower vases. Plants that add a lot of flowers for a long period of time. That's kind of the first thing you want to think about when you're thinking about what plants to add to your garden that are specifically going to be there for giving you flowers for your cut flower vases. You got to have plants that are going to be producing lots and lots of flowers for a long period of time. If it's like a peony, it can be challenging to cut those flowers to bring inside because they only flower for a short period of time. So it can be tricky. One of my favorite types of flowers to cut for the cut flower vase is actually a hydrangea. But particularly, it is some of the reblooming, remontant hydrangeas that are actually kind of going to, if you cut them at the beginning of the flowering season, they will produce new flowers later on in the season. Now, the first thing is you got to start with your vase. I have this gorgeous blue ceramic vase. Typically, my rule of thumb is I only like to add 3 colors to my vase. If a vase is glass, clear glass, there's no colors included. But because blue is a color, I'm going to try to limit my color selection to maybe 2 other colors for a total of 3. And in this case, white is not really considered a color either. It's kind of like a blender or a harmonizer. So when we think about where to cut our hydrangea, the thing that you want to do is you want to think about where you're going to cut so that the new growth that comes after it is going to be kind of as good as it possibly can be. So you take your scissors or your shears, always very sharp and very clean, and you go and you trace down to about the area that you want. Now you see each one of these sections is called a leaf node. And the way that it works is that depending on where you cut, you want to cut just above the leaf node, because in that actual leaf node are a bunch of beautiful hormones that as soon as I do this, as soon as I cut it, hormones that were held within that leaf node are now kind of given a signal to ignite. And what that's going to do is going to allow for branching to occur. If I were to cut kind of in the middle of that stem, not very close to that leaf node, you may see no additional growth. So you want to make sure and do that. Now that I have my cut, I could take it and I could just stick it like this, and now there's foliage that's just resting in that water, and that is a no-go. You never want to do that, because when you have foliage resting in that water, this foliage is going to start to get moldy, it's going to start to get gross, and when that happens and the water starts to get nasty, that's when the flowers, they kind of get scared. They don't want to live, they don't want to look good any longer, so they start to kind of just falter away. The water smells gross, it's a bad situation. You can prolong the life of your cut flowers simply by removing any foliage that may be resting in that water. Now, hydrangea is a really nice flower. In a cut flower vase with water, they're not a super long-lived cut flower in a vase of water. However, they are perfect for your dry vases. Basically, if I had no water in this, I just stick it right here and let it dry out, and it dries quite lovely. But for today, we're going to put it in a vase full of water. Okay. So now that we have our first flower, let's move on to another favorite of mine, something that is actually going to echo this beautiful blue vase. All right, the next flower that we're going to add to our vase, like I was saying, echoes the blue vase. So this is kind of goes along with that, limited color palette that we're going for. And that is this beautiful Agapanthus. I love the Agapanthus, long, beautiful scapes of stems that we call them scapes because they're kind of separated from the actual foliage. Now, when you cut your flower off, go as low as you possibly can. And I love using the Agapanthus because for me, the Agapanthus it brings a lot of memories to me. It brings a lot of memories of my childhood from California, when my family and I lived in Southern California, and from a lot of my travels, particularly to South America, where they're grown all over the place. So I love adding flowers to my vases that bring memories, because that's, in the end, that's what plants do. They bring memories. Okay, and so for our last flower, like I was saying, I like to pick 3 colors. So we have the blues, we have the white, which we can call that a color today. And then what is our 3rd color? All right, let's think back. Oh, that color wheel. What is across from blue on the color wheel? As a matter of fact, it's orange. So by adding an orange colored flower, we're gonna have a really exciting look in our vase. And that's what we want. The other thing is, when we're thinking about how many flowers to actually add to our vase, well, so one thing you wanna think about is, there's a long-standing tradition of always having an odd number of flowers in your vase. So right now I have 2 hydrangeas, I have 2 agapanthus, so that means I'm going to do 3 of these beautiful orange Gerber daisies. So once again, I'm going to take my shears, I'm going to travel all the way down to the base. Right there. And let's see how it looks. Looks pretty darn good. Now, let's say I don't want the entire stem. Maybe that stem is too long. If I were to just cut halfway down the stem and leave part of that stem down there, it's gonna have a lot of wasted energy. We've seen that before in our other videos, that if you leave stems like that, it's really doing a disservice to the quality and the health of your plant. So always get as low as you possibly can. 2 and 3. So now you can see I have this beautiful, lovely vase. I have 7 flowers. I have colors that complement each other, that really bring a high quality energy to your plants. And I always like to leave a little bit of foliage, because I think that green just kind of really unifies the entire look. It makes you feel like you were out in the garden, you had plants, and now you're enjoying them inside your home. Some of my favorite plants, you know, the hydrangeas, the Gerbers, the Agapanthus, they're all fantastic plants to add to the garden for using their flowers to bring you that energy, to bring you that love and that just general beauty inside your home. So make sure when you're thinking about what plants to add to your garden that you put a few in there that are gonna be specifically for cutting flowers to bring inside the home, because there's nothing like it. Anyway, I'm Devin Walleen with Roberta's Gardens, and if you enjoyed this video, go to qvc.com and search Grow with Roberta's, and you can find some of my favorite selections of plants that add these beautiful flowers for your cut flower garden.